Okay, good to go. All right, so I'll tell you what happened here. So I moved into my house and everything, which I'm not telling you where it's at so I don't get eggs or anything like that. Or ding dong ditch, right? That's a funny thing to do. So I was moving to my house, got all heavy stuff in, no problem, right? Yeah, right. Big papa pump here. I'm just kidding. So I got all the stuff in the house, no problem. And then there's this small TV stand. It's probably like this long, that's it. Probably not even 2 feet off the ground. Everything's done. I got it all moved in. So I was looking at this thing like, I don't even know where I'm going to put it. Whatever. So I was looking at it like, all right, let me just muscle this thing around here. I went to grab it, pop, right in my back. 26 years old, back blew out. I couldn't believe it. It popped and I had this jolting, sharp pains in my back and I just fell over. And I was on the ground. I'm like, yep, I'm done. Out for the count. I was laying there. What's that? Yeah, you could have. Yeah, if it was like a anytime belt, right? Anytime belt. 24/7 belt. Yeah, 24/7. So like I felt it and I like rolled over, and I was trying to do a push-up, couldn't really get up. So like I had to crawl over to this bench and like pull myself up. And everybody's watching me. My girlfriend's brother was filming me, putting on a Snapchat story. I'm like, yo, really? Come on. No, it actually hurt. And he goes, oh, you're playing. Like, no. Like, this is the only time I'm ever trying to, like, get everything in the house, organized. Like, why would I be playing that? So I'm just walking around and leaning on stuff. And they thought, oh, you know what you could do? You know those things that you put your feet in, you hang upside down, try to stretch your back out? Yeah. So I forgot what they're called, but I went in one of those. So they're downstairs. I went in one of those. My back's getting stretched out. I felt great. I'm even like grabbing the bar and pulling myself down to pull it out even more. So I'm like, oh, this feels good. This feels good. So I flipped back over to stand up. And right when I put my feet on the ground, boom, fell down. I couldn't move. I had that much pain in my back that I couldn't even like move my legs. So I have my armpits on these bars. I'm resting there. I look like a puppet. I'm sitting there like, I can't move. So I'm yelling for her brother, same thing. Oh, filming me. Like, yep, that's great. So I said, hey, put your arms underneath my armpits and put me up against the wall and like straighten me out. So then maybe I can lean up against the wall and straighten my back out and get walking again. So he's laughing, thinking it's a big joke. He's a big guy too, so it worked out. But he got underneath my armpits. He's walking me over, laughing, and I'm laughing. I'm like, I'm not laughing. I'm in pain. So he's holding me up, puts me up against the wall, and I'm sitting there like this, pinned up. I can't move. I'm like, you got to push my shoulders up more against the wall, like push me up so my back straightens out. So I'm sitting there pinned up against the wall. He lets go. I walked backwards. There I go, falling back down. So he catches me and like, you got to put me back up again. I put my shoulders and roll me up. So he puts my shoulders up, rolls me up, and then I'm like this. I'm like, okay. All right, not bad. So that was my story. Rooster, what do you think, man? What a joke, right? Yeah, I'll be feeling better. Thanks, man. I am feeling a little bit better. Still some pain there, but not too bad. Guess what song came on the radio, by the way? I was thinking of you. Here Comes the Rooster by Alice in Chains. I was losing it. Like, here comes a rooster. All right. He loved that. All right. Let's get to business here. Funny story's over. I figured that would brighten everybody's Monday, right? Yeah, Mr. Bowman in pain, can't walk. He's hurting, crippled, right? Okay. All right, so I'm going to put up the bell ringer first thing. We already know, too, current events. This Friday, we got Autumn, we got Ethan, okay? They'll do their thing on Friday. So I'm going to put up the bell ringer right now. I'd like you guys to work on that. And I hope you turned in your famous Muckraker activity. I didn't get to check them yet, but Google Classroom will tell me if you're late on it, if you didn't submit it, and I will grade those probably by the end of the day. Does that work for everybody? Okay, I guess there's nothing else we can do about it now, right? The deed is done. The deed is done. Okay, here we go, bell ringer. Oh, this is a good one. Describe what social justice is. And what did progressives do? List all 5. So all the 5 I went over in the PowerPoint. So I hope you guys wrote your notes down. Hope you did. Okay, list all 5. How about 3 of the 5? Let's do 3. I'm being nice today. I made you do that assignment over the weekend. I never do that really, but this was like the testing period. See how you guys will do. So how about just 3? Describe what social justice is. What did progressives do? List all 3. There we go. There you have it. You all right back there, Haley? Who are you talking to? Imaginary friend. Yourself. I'm just kidding. How's Booger doing? You have to talk to her yet? Not in a while. Got it. Got it. Where's she at again? Misericordia. That's right. Wow, where's that at? Up near Wilkes-Barre. You're going to have to tell her to go to Old Forge for some pizza. Supposedly, they have the best pizza in the country. Which, I don't know about that. I'd say Frackville is pretty darn good. You guys need more time? I think you do. How about 2 more minutes? Does that work?
You have to copy the question down here.
Oh, man. I can't type, Mr. Bone. My fingers. I feel like you Saturday. I feel like you Saturday. I can't do it.
It's like pick up the TV screen.
Yeah. I'll see you. I can come over and try to deadlift. Again, guys, you can fill it on a weekly bell ringer sheet. That's cool. Or if you want, you can put it on Google Docs. And you can just stream it all the way down if you want, or the Notes app. I had a lot of students do that in the past, the Notes app. They just take a screenshot of it then of the current week, and then they have the bell ringers throughout the whole year. That's fine too. That's a pretty good study tool, I think. What's up? All right. Because he said please. What's up? Wait, I had the one from last week. So we're, yeah, I already saw it. How about, can you open up a Google Doc? We'll just do it in there. Say bell ringers for the year. JD. Okay. There you go. Then you can just keep it in there for the whole year. The chart? Oh, you can just put in the date. So right now, just type in the 31st, 831. Maybe you can fix it afterwards. You have to show me tomorrow then. See if this is working for everybody at home. Yep, good. We need more time, or are we good? All right, let's go over this real quick, guys. So describe what social justice is. What is social justice? Big term here, big term. What do we got? What do we got? You'd like to help me out a little bit. Shikari, what's social justice?
I have no idea.
You don't know. Were you paying attention Friday? It was just that long ago, I guess, right? Oh, well, hopefully next week, well, next Tuesday, because we'll have that long weekend. Hopefully you don't forget even more since then, you know what I mean? That's something to look forward to, though, right? That long weekend. Okay. So what's social justice? Who wants to help me out here? Anybody? Rooster, my man. Yeah, good job. So equal rights, equal fairness, right? And then you have justice for all. You're going to try to provide equal opportunities for everyone, the best you can, right? Obviously, in every situation, it might be a little bit different. When we get to Teddy Roosevelt and the square deal, he's like, I'm not trying to give handouts. I'm not trying to give freebies to people. I'm just trying to level the playing field, right? It is what it is. If you get a good deck of cards, like a good hand of cards were related to poker, that's great. But in some cases, when you play poker, you don't get the great cards, right? Sometimes you just don't get dealt a good hand. He's just saying, I'm going to try to level the playing field, that people get equal opportunities, that people get some opportunities. And it is what it is. It's what they make of it, okay? So social justice, you're trying to create fairness, equal opportunity, right? Good job. All right, so what did progressives do? What did they do? I know I listed 5 of them, but what's 3? Let's just go over 3. Chris, go ahead. Give me one of them. Yeah, good job. So in a time of despair, in a time of need, you remember I talked, what was the United States going through? Actually, what I kind of went through, but not growing, on Saturday. What's that, Haley? Growing pains. Yep, good job. So with industrialization, the United States was expanding. They're becoming a dominant, superior power in the world. And with that, you have some growing pains, right? You have some places in the country where these people aren't being treated fairly in the workplace. They're not getting the same opportunities as others for education, all right? Different minority groups, different immigrant groups, they're not getting treated the same as nativists, which we'll talk about here soon, okay? So good job. So the government sometimes need to step in. They need to try to set a minimum wage, or they need to try to set regulations and rules for certain companies, businesses, that they all need to follow, right? Okay. What's another one? What's another one? What do you think here? Hunter, what do you have? What's one more? You don't remember? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Did you write down the notes from Friday? What's that? Yeah. Colin, keep it down over there, man. What's another one here? What's another one? Ethan, can you give me another one? No, Ethan. Yeah, most of them were middle class. Good job. Middle class. Educated middle class, right? So in most cases, how do these progressives reach out to the American people? What they do? How'd they reach out to them? How'd they make them alert or attentive of what's going on in the world? Haley? Yeah, good jobs. They wrote books. Many of these progressives wrote books. They wrote articles in newspapers. At the time, magazines were a big thing. Maybe even just posters on different buildings or outside of businesses, displaying some of the hardships that people are going through. Right? Nowadays, it's almost it's as easy as just posting something on your Twitter or social media to be a progressive, to argue about or to try to display some problems or grievances in the workplace. It's really easy, which today I'm going to assign a muckraker activity for you. I think you guys will enjoy it. It's not going to be too hard, I promise you. I think you guys will find it fun. All right, what's one more here? What's one more? What was that Pizza Hut example I gave the other day in class? You remember? If Pizza Hut came in, go ahead, Brittany. Yeah, good job. They hated big monopolies, not the board game. We all love the board game, right? But the whole goal of Monopoly is to try to buy up all the properties, buy up all the businesses, right? Josh, got that? Yeah, so I gave an example in class on Friday that, let's say Pizza Hut comes into Eville here, and they decide, you know what, we're going to make a monopoly, a chain through Eville. We're going to buy up all these smaller pizza shops like Schiano's, like JoJo's, like Pizza Delight, right? I'm sure there's more here, but for the most part, I'm just saying about how Pizza Hut's coming in, making a strong monopoly. They're buying up all these different small pizza shops. Is that fair for the small pizza shops? No. No, why not? Yeah, it's closing their business. maybe eliminate work for many of the workers in the area. Okay. They'll probably bring in workers from outside to try to establish their rules and their regulations and their ways of work. Okay, good. And what do the people in this small town here lose? What do they lose? Other than jobs, right? Okay, maybe money, right? What else? What else?
Restaurants.
Yeah, the unique taste, right, of the restaurants. Okay, each pizza place has their unique taste, I think, anyway. And Pizza Hut, if they come in, you only get one taste. You only get one selection. That's it. And then you lose everything else that those smaller businesses have to offer. All right, good job. All right, there's 3 of them. Okay, make sure you guys know 3 of them. I think that's fair, right? A little bit more than half, but not too far over it. Okay, is there any questions on that, guys? What did progressives do? And then social justice. Okay. Let me pull up vocab. Again, we're going to go over this. So you don't have too much homework. How nice is that? How nice is that? Here we go. So please fill this out, guys. I suggest you write them down. Angel, pay attention. Okay, we got our vocab terms here. I suggest writing them down. That's how I learn best, writing them down on a note paper. But if you want to, you can vocab, and then you can just do chapter 1, progressive era. They go down through it. That's fine too. Whatever way is easier for you to learn. But we should have a string of these already filled out, so we're just going to work on a vocab. I'll give you guys a minute or two to write these down, maybe look some of them up if you don't know what they are, and then we'll discuss them. We'll go over them in class so that we're all going over them together. Remember, I'm trying to eliminate homework for you. I don't want to give you too much homework here. Okay. Jakari, I think everybody else, I think Mr. Rupp posted about the content keeper on Facebook. Did you see that or no? I didn't see it either on Facebook, but I guess content keeper was down. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's kind of what the problem was, I think. If not, let me know then if you can access it, okay?
I can access it here, but I don't know.
Okay. It doesn't work at home.
No.
Really?
It works for me. Because I emailed Rob yesterday.
It works for you?
Yeah, you have to like turn your iPad completely off. You have to like restart it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So you could access the chapters then at home?
Yeah, I did last night, but the rest of like
Really?
yeah, it started working last night.
Last night.
Yeah, but like mostly it wasn't working again.
I know he said he needed to update it. Maybe that was the issue. I think maybe after he got the update. So hey, how about
It wasn't working again this morning for a while.
it wasn't here?
At all.
Oh. Okay.
I think they fixed it now, but
I
it
think
wasn't working during Discovery this morning.
Okay. Well, I'll be great if someone lets me know tonight. I don't need everybody here. How about Jakari, since you brought it up? Jakari, let me know tonight if you can access the chapters, okay? Well, how about I email you and you'll remember or something like that? Going home playing Fortnite, whatnot.
That's disgusting.
Oh, Warzone then. Warzone, huh?
Still not.
No, I've never played that, but I heard it's fun. Okay, let's go over this, guys. Temperance Movement. What's the Temperance Movement? What's that? Okay, guys, we're going over this together so that we're all on the same page and you don't have too much homework here. Go ahead, Brittany. Yeah, good job. So this was a social movement, all right? You remember how I was telling you about social gospel? How religion's used within politics and making laws and regulations? This was one of the movements here. Okay, many of the women got together and tried to stop the sale and distribution of alcohol. And why do you think the women would want that? Why do you think they would want to stop that sale and distribution of alcohol? What the heck? Rooster, what do you think, man? Yeah, good job. So when we talk about industrialization a little bit more here, these men that work in the coal mines for 16, 18 hours a day, And these men that work in factories, making textile goods and finalized goods, working all day long in these harsh conditions. Don't you think they want to take the edge off a little bit? Yeah. So it's like, I'm going to go to the bar, spend a little bit. How about all of my pay, because I don't get paid too much, at the bar with the boys, relax a little bit, unwind. And after a while, guess what those men did when they went home? They laid the smack down on their wife. No, I'm just kidding. Most of them did, okay? Actually, there's a lot of abuse in the household, okay? And even with the children, too. The children went to work, but they got abused, too, by their the fatherly figure that was working all day in the industries. I mean, when you think about it, these guys that were working in these mines in these harsh conditions, that was their way of coping, to unwind a little bit. Because, again, a lot of this style of living, a lot of the conditions of work were very terrible. I'm not condoning what they did, obviously, but the women needed to try to do something here. They needed to try to have a little bit of pay for food at home, for their family, for their children. The men needed to provide a little bit more. So this temperance movement, plain and simple, guys, is how it's a social movement, how women was trying to end the sale, distribution of alcohol. So this is where the Volstead Act comes into play, the 18th Amendment, okay? You guys got that? Josh, got that, man? Okay. NAACP. What is the NAACP? What is that? Come on now. What do we got? What do we got? Someone can just type it in and look it up. What does it stand for, at least? Rooster?
National Association for Advancement.
Yeah, good job. So the National Advancement, or National Association, National Advancement. Say it again. Go ahead. It's a lot of words there.
It's the National Association for the Advancement of.
There you go. There you go. National Association of the Advancement of Colored People. There you go. So with W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington, right, these men are going to be very influential of trying to progress African Americans in this new industrial age, okay? Providing them education, right in the workplace, okay? Equal opportunities in just social life. This is the very start of it, the beginning. And this all happens because the Great Migration. What was the Great Migration again? I know I mentioned it last week a lot. What is the Great Migration? Go ahead, Chris. All right, you're close. You're close. So this is where the African Americans from the South moved north because of hardships in the South right after the Civil War with the Jim Crow laws, okay, literacy tests, unequal opportunities. The KKK was huge down in the South. So many of the African Americans moved north for better opportunities in the workplace, education, okay? And it was just, I wouldn't say it was a lot better conditions to live in, but it was far better than the South, okay? All right, so the NAACP, there you go. National Association of the Advancement of Colored People. All right, Americanization, what is that? Americanization. What is that? This is real easy. I can say it in one made-up word. You're like, what? One made-up word? America, right? America. Okay. So this is where people, okay, we have all these immigrant groups coming to the United States. We see people from rural backgrounds moving into these industrial areas. And we have the Great Migration, the African Americans moving up north. So Americanization is just trying to spread societal values to these people, okay? American traditional values to immigrant groups, okay, different social groups, to Americanize them, okay? Does that make sense, guys? We're trying to fit a mold of what America is. Baseball, hot dogs, cigars, beer. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So Americanization is just trying to set traditional social values to immigrant groups and other social groups, okay? These extreme Americanized people are called nativists, okay, nativists. Do you guys ever see The Gangs of New York, that movie? Ooh, it's a really good movie. I think it's on Netflix. You guys should check it out sometime. It's a little violent, but this is what these nativist groups and these immigrant groups, when they clashed together, it was very bloody, it was very violent in many of these bigger cities. But I'll let you guys look that up on your own here. U.S. conflicts, we actually have a project on that. I think it's really cool and fun. And last year I showed the movie, but we'll see this year. I don't know. We'll see how that works out. All right, is there any questions on these three terms, guys? Okay, good. All right, I only got one slide today. One slide. How nice is that, huh? Now you're thinking, yeah, your one slide takes like 10 minutes. No, I'm just kidding. All right, where's my PowerPoint, though? Can't find it. All right, here we go. I'm just going to talk about two famous progressives here. You had an activity on Friday that you're supposed to do, and if you didn't do it, please turn it in. Okay, I'll give you some credit, not full credit, but some credit. Okay, if you missed the deadline or if you just forgot to do it. Okay, I'll give you some credit, not full. But anyway, here we go. We already did the progressives here. So a lot of these progressives were actually muckrakers. And what is a muckraker again? Oh, what is a muckraker? Right, Jakari? A journalist, right? Does it always have to be a journalist, though? No, it could be maybe a photographer, right? Okay, it could be maybe an activist. Okay, it could be an illustrator, someone that's drawing pictures or cartoons to try to display what's going on in America today. So muckraker, what do they do, though? What do they do? Go ahead, Chris. Expose people, groups, organizations, businesses, right? And they're trying to bring up the dirt, right? They're trying to bring up or rake the muck. Okay, there you go, muckraker. They're trying to rake up the muck or the dirt on some group, organization, politician, okay? Something like that. Okay, so that's a muckraker. If you guys don't remember that, there it is. Progressives that showed scandals from the rich, that made the rich look greedy and corrupt. Okay. So these illustrators, they draw. I'll show some political cartoons here soon. They draw these big corporate bosses, okay, and these industrial giants as big, fat, overarching figures, just to show how greedy they are, how much they're taking from society, and how the wealth wasn't equally distributed amongst the society. Okay, I'll talk about that here soon. I'll show some political cartoons when we get to some industrial giants. All right, so some famous muckrakers. Who was one of them from the activity that you thought was very influential? Go ahead, Haley. What's that? Yeah, Ida Tarbo. What did she do? You don't know. Did you do the activity? Okay, what did she do?
She was an author
Yeah, good job. So there's that monopoly word again. So Standard Oil was expanding, okay? Rockefeller, you guys ever hear of Rockefeller? Yeah, okay. He was expanding the Standard Oil and monopolizing this industry. He was one of the most richest men in the world, most wealthiest men in the world, okay? Even today, some of the earnings that he had back in the late 1800s compares all the way up until Bill Gates today, all right? He was very wealthy, very rich, and he monopolized a lot of these Standard Oil and gas companies by just buying them up throughout America. Right? And he was expanding his dominance, his power, to the point where he became an industrial giant. And Ida Tarbo, okay, she wrote about some of these struggles that her family went through. They owned small businesses in oil and natural gas. Who wouldn't, right? At the time, everything's changing. The industrialization, mechanisms, innovations, okay, inventions were all expanding to oil, natural gas. Even today, that's a very dominant resource with our inventions and innovations. Okay, so she wrote about this in an article and argued about how monopolizing these companies was wrongful. Okay, it was hurting very small businesses. In her case, her family lost their business to Rockefeller, Standard Oil because of the expansion of that company. Right? And they lost all their workers. They lost all the money that they had invested into this business. It wasn't fair. Government needed to act out. Government needed to try to stop this monopoly from expanding and controlling all assets in that business. All right. So one, Jacob Reese, he was a photographer in the New York Evening Sun, and his famous work was How the Other Half Lives. I talked a little bit about him on Friday, okay? And he was very famous for taking pictures of how people lived in society, okay, in these jam tight, packed places. Like I was saying before, 30 families would live in a room just like this. Can you imagine that? Right? There's no privacy. Okay, where do people go to the bathroom? Where do people change? Okay, they don't have their own separate rooms like many of you have today in your own homes. Okay, maybe you share it with a sibling, that's fine, but for the most part, there's multiple families living in a room just like this. Where do they go to the bathroom? In a bucket and throw it out in the street. Okay, that's it. Okay, where do they have running water? No, they don't. Do they have electricity? Do they have heating? Do they have insulation in their homes? No. A lot of these buildings are just makeshift buildings just to store as many people as possible. And a lot of these immigrant groups, okay, lived in these buildings because they had no other opportunity. They had no other way of affording a better luxury style of living. Okay. In these conditions and display them for the American people to see. Okay. Can you imagine that? I always thought, it's like, obviously photographs at the time, that big flash bulb, the bulb would actually kind of explode. So he'd run in one of these buildings very dark because there's no lights or anything. Smile, and take a picture of like 30 families just sitting in there. Like I always thought, like, what a weirdo. But no, he was just trying to show the poor conditions that people lived in during the time. And yeah, he did a great job, and he's very famous even today for his work of showing how the other half lives. All right, Upton Sinclair, The Jungle. We talked about him already too. I just wanted to show these two famous guys here. So he wrote The Jungle, showed how conditions in the meat industry were very terrible. I described this a little bit already of how, you know, these meat packaging plants, they didn't have great refrigeration there. Obviously, in the late 1800s, I guess the way of trying to keep things cool was keeping it in a basement, underground, okay? And with that, what does meat and different types of food, what does that bring in? Go ahead, Alyssa. Yeah, flies, right? Insects that spread diseases, right? Okay, it also brings in rats, mice, different animals like that. And to try to kill these mice and these bugs and things like that, they throw out traps, poison, okay? And a lot of the areas that they worked in were very disgusting. They're unsanitary. They don't wear masks. They didn't wear clothing to try to keep their hair out of the food. Okay, they'd spit oftentimes on the meat, on the floor. They dropped meat on the floor, they just threw it back on the conveyor belt. No problem. Keep it going. Keep it rolling down the assembly line. Bugs laying their eggs inside these meats, inside this food. Do you think they ever stop to try to rip them out? Maybe once in a while, but for the most part, they're like, keep it going. We need to make some more money here. The poison, like I mentioned before, to try to kill the mice and the rats. They'd throw these bars down on the ground. The mice would eat it. They'd die. Oftentimes, the meat would fall on the ground, mix in with the poison, mix in with the rat, the dead mice, and then they just chop it up, package it, and sell it off to the local grocery store. Was that very healthy and sanitary? No, it's very disgusting. And many people died of this disease and sickness that they get from eating this bad food and this bad meat. It came to a point that something needed to be done. Upton Sinclair wrote about it in a book, The Jungle, and spread it out throughout the whole country and the world. And this was brought to the attention of the American people and citizens throughout the world of what was actually going on. I'm not saying today some stuff like this doesn't happen, but for the most part, this brought up Meat Inspection Act. Okay, this brought out some food and safety regulations in these areas. Okay, same thing when you're cutting up meat, you might hit your finger. Okay, a lot of these people, just leave the finger in there. Okay, maybe bandage your finger up so it stops bleeding all over the meats, but hey, it's meat, right? It's going to look bloody. Just keep it rolling down the line.
When did they start with the safety regulations?
What's that?
When did they start with like the inspection of the safety regulations?
In the progressive era. So right around 1908 to 1920, right around those eras there. So you have meat inspections, so you have food inspections, okay? A lot of these restaurants and these industries need certifications in order to continue their business, all because Upton Sinclair and these muckrakers. So you can thank them for that, right? Yeah. Is there any questions on that, guys? You good? All right, I'm going to check the famous muckraker activity on Google Classroom to see who got it done. If you didn't get it done, please turn it in. I'll give you some credit for it, okay? But the deadline was at the start of class, okay? I got a video for you. I don't know how much time we have left.
4 minutes.
4 minutes. That actually might be perfect. That might be perfect. Here we go. You guys see it? Good. Yep. 3 minutes.
During the progressive
Get a
era,
minute.
America saw much corruption and inhumane treatment exposed and changed over the course of a relatively short amount of time. This shift in public opinion and law is in large part thanks to the muckrakers. The muckrakers were reform-minded journalists who spent their careers exposing corrupt leaders and institutions, founding and pioneering the art of investigative journalism. Most of these authors had previously spent time writing for newspapers that published yellow journalism, or sensational.
We'll get to yellow journalism here soon.
Emotions
Okay.
in readers and sell more copies.
Fake news.
Disillusioned with this biased form of reporting, muckrakers moved away from newspapers towards magazines, most famously McClure magazine, founded by muckraker S.S. McClure. People across the whole country read these muckraker magazines, giving their words much more cultural impact. The movement started with McClure writer Lincoln Steffens and his expose on St. Louis politics. His piece, titled Tweed Days in St. Louis, started a widespread movement on uncovering corruption within society. Ida Tarbell, another writer primarily for the McClure magazine, spent countless hours researching the oil industry after her father's oil drilling business was forced into bankruptcy by Rockefeller's Standard Oil Company. After years of tracking and compiling documents, Tarbell published a series of 19 articles titled The History of Standard Oil. She exposed the corruption of trusts, inspiring a sense of anger in readers, and public outrage eventually led to the trust busting of Standard Oil. Upton Sinclair was another renowned muckraker. He famously researched and subsequently exposed unsanitary, vile conditions of the meatpacking industry in his fictional book, The Jungle. The book was a national success and resulted in a decrease in American meat consumption, as well as new government regulations such as the Pure Food and Drug Act. Jacob Reese was another journalist whose work created lasting change. He was an immigrant and an early photojournalist, and his book, How the Other Half Lives, exposed the living conditions of the poor in the dangerous and disgusting tenements. This book resonated with viewers across New York and the nation, leading to immediate housing reform, stronger fire safety laws, and better housing conditions on the whole. Throughout the progressive era, muckrakers worked tirelessly to investigate and expose poverty, child labor, unsafe working conditions, and corruption of political machines. Eventually, with the election of President Taft in 1908, a wave of conservatism swept America and suppressed the popularity of muckraking. Corporations, desperate for the stories to end, boycotted muckraker magazines, forcing them to go bankrupt. However, while they were still active, muckrakers led to a measurable social change. The Standard Oil monopoly was ended, the Pure Food and Drug Act was passed, and the first child labor laws were created.
Look at that.
Despite the movement's untimely end, the muckraker movement and investigative journalism lives on today as an essential part of news media.
All right, there you go. There you have it. Pretty cool stuff. So I'll assign it tomorrow. Don't worry about it today yet. But tomorrow, I'm going to assign a muckraker activity. So you're just going to create a PowerPoint where you'll go around the school and try to pick something that you think we need to improve on as a school district. Maybe it might be Wi-Fi. 2 years ago when the mold and mildew happened, right? We needed to get respirators for that. Maybe if you're a football player, you want to get a turf field in. Maybe we need new wrestling mats. I don't know.
Scotland, 2 years ago.
I'm just saying. Kind of looks like a Spartan to me, not a Trojan. Don't tell Mr. Rupp that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But anyway, guys, I'll sign that tomorrow. I'll go over it a little bit more tomorrow. See you guys. Have a good one.